Things are heating up. Ticket sales for Spider-Man No Way Home are through the roof, and fan theories are running wild. But I've read a tweet earlier from Grace Randolph, our beloved queen of the gossip scene. She claimed to have spoken to someone who saw the movie, minus the credit scenes, and that expectations need to be dialed down. Think WandaVision was a warning. My fear now is that people will be so disappointed after the movie, Marvel and Sony will get some of that heat. So I'll call on all of you. Cool down. Hello and welcome to the Review of Champions. It's time to talk about Hawkeye Episode 3, Echoes. With me are back after a long time, all the way from Florida, Mr. ArArArchstanton.
I'm glad to be back, guys. I super missed everybody. I really did. I'm excited, man.
Well, I can speak for all of us that we've missed you dearly, but we're so happy to see your face again. Sitting on his throne room, on his throne, in the room, in Hades, Mr. Lord Deathman.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Not much.
Hey, Deathman.
Except recording a review. And we've got, all the way from Texas, Mr. Taylor First.
Hey, great to be here with everybody again.
Yes, indeed. And everybody includes, of course, our dear friend, Mr. Jeff Svoboda, joining us again from the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, guys. Good to see you again.
Yeah, certainly. Before we start, I would like to ask you all to hit that like and subscribe button and maybe join our forum on Sakaar.freeforums.net. Please make sure to also check out the YouTube channel of the MCU's Bleeding Edge. Fun channel. You can also see the champions there regularly, so be sure to check it out. We're going to talk spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode, go check it out first and then come back to the video. Well, let's just dive right into it, and I can't do it any other way. Arch, you go first. You saw episode 3 of Hawkeye. What do you think?
It's my favorite episode so far, just overall. And by the way, so I haven't been catching up with a lot of stuff recently. So I've seen all 3 episodes just from last night to this morning, and I'm really digging the series. I love the low scale of it overall. That you've taken Hawkeye out of like a lot of these like big giant elements where he's been placed as this character who doesn't belong, sort of thing sometimes, and like. Now we're seeing like a little bit more of his element where he's getting into like some street level stuff, which feels somewhat appropriate for him, almost beneath him a little bit, but in a good way, like that he feels he has to go in and reconcile these things he's done as Ronin. And episode 3 really dives into that element where you see some of this stuff from his past that he's done as Ronin really start to come back. And I like how that bleeds into Kate. My personal favorite moment, you guys have probably already talked about this, but it goes back to the episode 1, is just where Kate is watching him from Avengers jump off the building. And I love that about just the MCU as a whole, where they go back and they show how these moments really impact other things that have happened. And her just watching him from that balcony jump off the building and fly in. I honestly like teared up a little bit with that, not like as a sad sort of thing, but in wow, that's really epic. Like that's really important to this character who is Kate. And after that she starts on this heroic path that she's on, and I think that's just awesome that it sort of all weaves back together, and then they wind up meeting. It's all a little bit coincidental, but who cares? Like it's really cool that she's found him. And there was so much in this episode that I thought was just badass. That entire car chase was amazing. I knew for like the moment they did something like the little thing with a plunger arrow, you knew that was coming back, and they wove that back in perfectly. I thought that was great. It was just a really fun, exciting episode for me, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into the details a little bit later. Taylor, you have anything to add?
Nah, I agree completely with Arch. It was a great episode, and like I said, we can talk about the details as you go along. But it is a great episode and really expanding the story.
Jeff?
I want to just connect to what Arch said and mention that I know this is going backwards in time with Hawkeye, but seeing that the Battle of New York and everything from the perspective that they demonstrated in episode 1 in the beginning of the episode, and seeing Hawkeye tumble off that building and everything off his perch the way he did and jump off from that different viewpoint that they gave us was really, really cool. I mean, it was really fun. Just great fan service. And as far as episode 3 goes, I would definitely also have to agree with Arch that I feel like it was the strongest episode of the 3 so far. I think that at least right now, what Echo brought to the table, to the series, to that episode, was pretty impactful. She kind of controlled a good part of the tone of the episode, and the way that they decided to start it off by doing almost like a brief intro of her, sort of, that was very well done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as far as like a slapping together a quick intro in a couple of minutes just to give an audience in 3, 4, 5 minutes or whatever, and try to, give someone's like almost, 25 years of life type story or whatever. They did very well with what they had for time there. Yeah. It set a great tone for the episode, and it brought an edge and a darkness and a grittiness to the series that I was desperately waiting for.
I agree. To me, it felt almost like the Netflix shows. This series starts to feel like the Netflix shows. Do you agree with that, Lord Deathman?
It does. It certainly does have the vibe of the Netflix shows, for sure. And I did think overall that this episode was really good. I do want to say, just by default, it's my favorite episode of the 3. That being said, from a comic book reader point of view, Hawkeye is easily Disney Plus's most faithful series to its source material. And if you've ever read My Life as a Weapon or read the summary beats of it somewhere, there were things about that run that I really loved, and there were things that I thought were not so great. And since they're following a lot of it so closely here, I'm like, there are certain things that I was a little soft on. Never was a huge fan of the Draculas, the tracksuit Draculas. And they are starting to be a little grating in terms of this episode. And I was also a little soft on Echo's sort of backstory and origin. I don't know if I'm there yet in terms of connecting with the character, but if we go back to Sophie from Loki, that was, that's just my MO at this particular point. But overall, this is a great episode. I enjoyed a lot of the gimmicks with the arrows. The action set pieces were off the chain, probably the best yet. It's kind of nice the way they keep escalating. Each director kind of keeps wanting to do a better set piece than what came in the series from before. But I'm liking this street level feel to it, but I do want them to push further in terms of the edginess of this story by the time we hit the end of the series.
Okay. Jeff, did you have any dislikes about the episode?
I don't know if I would not call it a dislike. I would just say that the action scene where Hawkeye loses himself from the tracksuit mafia dudes and Echo, and then runs around and everything and fights Echo and whatnot and everything, and then Kate Bishop, participates. So that was a little, choppy for me. Like it didn't hit home for me, as well maybe as it could have. But it was all right. I mean, I wouldn't say I disliked it. I just think that it wasn't. It could have maybe been done a little bit better. But I definitely am with Lord Deathman. The way that they're being so like comical with the tracksuit mafia guys, like they're just a joke. Like, they can't do anything right at all. I mean, nothing. Like,
Yeah, it's like we said last week. They need to be careful because it can turn into slapstick very easily.
yeah, it's kind of entering into that territory a little bit. You know, and I mean, I love the trick arrow stuff. The car chase was really good. You know, the car was neat and everything and whatnot. The deal where he was talking to his son and Kate Bishop was like translating for him because his hearing aid was out or whatever.
Mhm.
That didn't do anything for me. I didn't hate it, but it also didn't like touch a nerve for me. I wasn't like, you know, I didn't have a tear in my eye during it or anything. So
Yeah, you're not the sensitive type. I know.
no.
Now, talk about trick arrows, Arch. Pim Tech. Trick arrow. I mean, we saw Ant-Man on the arrow in Civil War, but now we see a giant arrow falling on the bridge. What did you think about that?
Actually, I thought that was pretty cool. Somehow that caught me off guard. I don't know why, but I remember he was telling her to aim up, and then you saw the Pym thing, and I was like, wait, what? And then it happened so fast, I was like, oh, of course. But I thought that was cool. I thought they played that whole sequence really well. I mentioned earlier with the plunger arrow, and Kate is like, wow, you might as well call this a useless arrow. And you knew just as a film fan or just somebody that follows anything that this is coming back somehow. So I loved how they brought that back and made it useful. I don't know. I just thought it was a fun, playful scene that they did in this sort of serious way. Like, it worked completely within the context. So I thought it was great. I mean, I'll branch out a little bit from that. Just just cutting off what Jeff just said. Like, I agree that they're playing the tracksuit guys as not serious villains, and they're not. When I was talking about this kind of sort of being beneath Hawkeye a little bit, it is. Those guys are definitely beneath him, but I think something's like brewing here. I'm having taken a lot of time off from this forcibly, unfortunately, for a while. I'm a little more in Taylor's camp now, where I'm not prone to guess on a lot of this stuff, so I don't really care. But I feel like something's happening, like, you know, the stepfather guy, or maybe something else is happening. I don't know. I don't really care. But I feel like something else is happening, and this is headed in good direction. So
you better up your game, because we're going to go to Cannon Fodder later, so you know that already. Lord Deathman, besides the things you were soft on, were there also things you were hot for?
Yeah, I totally love the rapport between the two Hawkeyes. This show is about Hawkeye and on Hawkeye action and the archery showcase between the two of them in terms of technique and collaboration in terms of how they get things done in the field. That feels really right about this show, and it feels really true to the source material. Again, it feels like the creators of this series, more than any other Disney Plus series that has come before this, said, it's all there in the panel. You know, we're just going to take this and right off of the comic book page and basically, copy all of that down for the script to this television show. And I really applaud them for that, because a lot of writers might have said, some of this is silly, guys, in the writer's room. And I don't know if they're going to take Kazi, that character. Kazi and Echo's father kind of stand out as weird Draculas because they're actually smart. But Kazi later becomes a pretty sadistic assassin in the comic books. With 3 episodes left, I doubt they're going to push that far into clown territory. But there was plenty to like about this. I just felt like where I was soft on it was really the whole origin story for Echo. And I don't really like being manipulated in that way when people are like, oh, here's my father, he's dying, and I'm touching his face and there's a bloody mark. That felt a little forced to me, and I kind of want to understand why I should care about Echo, because right now she's the henchman to one of the top criminals in the city, right? There's like, okay, your dad died, that's pretty sad, but I want to sort of be taken farther along her journey, especially if you're expecting to hear about her come up again, like in another show altogether, right? It can't just be about her being an ASL expert and having a prosthetic leg, despite the fact that me and Jeff are huge fans of that. But yeah, so I mean, in detail, this is a worthy episode. It was the best of the episodes that we've gotten so far. And again, Haley Steinfeld continues to be a treasure to her craft. She knows what she's doing, and she's the first of the young Avengers sort of wannabes or would-be's that I would fully endorse and say, you know what, I'd watch an Avengers movie with this replacement Avenger in it or this new Avenger in it for sure. The other ones, they've got some work to do.
Absolutely. Taylor, are we liking Haley Steinfeld, Kate Bishop as well?
Oh, very much so. She is excellent as Kate Bishop. There were basically two main purposes of this episode. One was to give us the background on Echo, a little bit about her life, where she comes from, her criminal organization. We learned a little bit about that. We saw a little glimpse of her uncle, who was probably the man in charge, and I think we know who that probably is. And I got Lord Deathman. I got to say, I see why you're the ruler of hell or whatever the heck you are. You need more to have feelings for a one-legged deaf girl raised in a criminal empire, for God's sakes. What else do you need to have some emotion for this person?
Well, Taylor, come on. Her dad's dying. The guy's talking about fly free, little dragon. I mean, that kind of feels like he's writing 101. He touches her face. There's like a perfect blood smear of her hand on face, and we know that that's from the comic book.
In front of her with a sword.
I mean, you don't think they went a little too heavy with that, Taylor, or is that
certainly not far enough if it didn't get any feeling out of you?
Well, you know what, it didn't, and I'm just here to say that they try to compress and make you feel something for somebody in a really short amount of time, and that's totally
okay, wait a minute.
A tell.
That reminds me. I'll just let everybody know. This morning, I took the bullet and I watched the Snyder Cut for the first time. Okay, trust me, dude. You don't need more. But for example, I don't need Lois Lane buying a cup of coffee in slow motion with dramatic music playing to make me feel something. Okay. That was literally a scene in the Snyder Cut.
It's not about
buying a cup of coffee in slow motion.
Not about what you felt or didn't feel. It's what they forced you to feel by setting up the story and compressing it that way. I don't need to be guided in terms of whether I'm going to take to a character or not. They didn't need to pile it on as thick as they did. I think I could have got the point without all the tragedy in 30 seconds that you can fit into it.
Okay. We'll discuss this as the series goes on, I'm sure. But anyway, I think they did a pretty good job establishing, at least giving us the information that we, the audience, need to know about Echo and her criminal organization and her father and her uncle, at least up to this point. The other main point of this episode was a absolutely spectacular action scene, which was actually, of course, two action scenes together. There was the one in the warehouse and then the car chase scene. And that car chase scene was magnificent. The camera work, the special effects, and the action, and the talk between Kate and Hawkeye, who couldn't even hear what she was saying during that entire scene, and yet they still managed to communicate and get the job done. All really, really well done. So I'm completely happy with the episode.
Okay. Jeff, you have a follow-up.
Could you imagine if in that scene where Echo's dad died, Echo turned around and was like, I can't fucking understand you. I'm deaf. You know what I mean? Like, you got to use sign language with me, dude. You know, like that would have been funny.
I didn't raise my hand, but I will say that if you compare the way they introduced Echo to the way they introduced Hawkeye, and I mean Hawkeye 2, at the beginning of the series, showing you her stepping up her game with martial arts as a kid, that was so much more genuine and sort of a real introduction than sort of here's all the tragedies and this girl just has a hard look on her face all the time. I'm not down on Echo or anything like that. I just want to know a little bit more. But again, if you're looking for like the right way to do it, there was Hawkeye 2 in episode number 1.
Okay. Well, Lord Deathman, it's for sure that when the Echo series drops, I will ask you to host the show. So prepare for that. Arch, you had a follow-on.
Yeah. Just for the record, I mean, I really enjoyed the Echo stuff. I mean, I think they had, they're fitting this into 6 episodes. So, I mean, if you wanted like a big, long dramatic sort of backstory. I mean, I think they could get into that if they had the time to do it. But you know, there's nothing wrong with it. I think I really enjoyed it. I thought the whole she's got to make up for her disability sort of thing is significant enough. I think the idea that what they showed with her witnessing what Ronan did to her family is significant motivation. I'm not going to say like I was like bawling out for her or anything like that, but I felt enough impacted or enough motivation there to care about the character and to be interested in what she's doing in the future. Another thing that Taylor mentioned, and I'm glad he said it, was the camera work. When they were doing that 360 thing in the car as they're driving around, and they just kept the camera moving, the stuff going around, and it's like one long tracking shot. I thought that was like just brilliant. I was hooked into that to figure out like how they were doing that. I thought it was great. Overall, like I really had a lot of fun with it. So yeah. There you go. That's it.
Bert and Bertie really knocked it out of the park this episode. Lord Deathman, follow up.
Yeah, just wanted to quickly go on the record that this was a great episode, and it actually is my favorite out of the three, but not all of it was perfect.
Well, we're going to see how much we liked it all, because we're going to rate it. You know what, Lord Deathman, you can rate first.
All right. Well, I think I gave the last one. It was the first one was an 8 because I really liked the Battle of New York stuff and the way they showed you that from a different perspective. Not necessarily a new thing on TV or in the movies, but I'm a sucker for it every time. They take an event you've already seen and show it to you from a different perspective. So I think I'm going to have to step it up here and give this one a 9 out of 10 in terms of the way it was handled, with particular emphasis on the way that the chemistry between the two Hawkeyes is working out in terms of how their push and pull dynamics are feeling very organic, well written. The comedy's not too much. It's not too light. The only part of it that again, the Draculas that come from the source material are just as annoying here as I thought they were in the comic books. So that's not really, I wouldn't put that on the writers. They're just being faithful to what they read on the page. So yeah, this one gets a 9 out of 10 for me. Really strong episode.
Okay. Taylor.
Well, as you know, I gave the first 2 episodes 10 out of 10. This one, oh boy, it's really tough. But I think what put it over the top for me, to the point where I have to give this one another 10 out of 10, is the fact that the Tracksuit Mafia have now established themselves as the greatest villains in the MCU history at this point, okay?
Throw another one, bro.
I say that because they're real people. They're regular guys. They're not Chitauri faceless alien monsters. They have personalities. They talk to each other. They talk about music. They talk about what they're doing in life. They're a bunch of regular guys, and that's what makes this a real street-level story. And
yeah,
I'm all for it.
They even buy concert tickets for Imagine Dragons. Jeff,
my God.
What's your rating?
I'm going to give it a 8.25 out of 10 stars, and it could have been an 8.5 if Echo would have made some more dirty looks and like dirty faces and everything during the episode. If there had been maybe 10 or 15 more of those, I could have bumped it up a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.25, and I'm going to slap that extra 0.25 on there on top of the original 8, just because we got to see Kingpin's arm that one time. So that right there is worth at least a quarter of a star.
Hold that thought. Arch, I know you're a big fan of ratings, so I'm still going to ask you. How do you rate this?
I can't think of anything clever off the top of my head, but so no number. But I had a really good time with this one. I thought it was fun. I don't think anybody's mentioned this. Wasn't the entire Ren Fair LARPer segment in this episode? That wasn't episode 2, right? That was this episode, right?
Yeah.
That was episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Okay. I won't get into that then. But no, I had a really good time with this one. I love the whole car chase. I love the whole thing. I don't know. I really got into it. This episode was the one that like got me on board, and I'm really excited to see what happens next. I really am.
Arch,
Okay,
I'm
no
gonna
number.
rate
I don't
your
have a
beard.
number.
I'm gonna rate your beard a 7, Arch. Your beard's looking pretty good. It's a 7.
This is like 2 weeks. You should see it after 4. So I'll come back and see what happens.
Caveman Arch. Okay, well, it's time for our favorite section of the review. Let's go dive into the fan theories in our section called Cannon Fodder.
Cannon fodder.
Well, as I said before, in Cannon Fodder we discussed those crazy fan theories. I have been looking online because nobody sent some to me. If you have one, please send it to me, and I may discuss it on the show. Well, let's talk those fan theories. The first one is about Swordsman, Jacques Duquesne. Swordsman was Ronin before Hawkeye was, and it's actually Swordsman's Ronin who killed Echo's father. Well, Jeff, what do you think? Buy, sell, or hold on this theory?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know the comic book background information on this, so I'm going to hold on that because who knows? I mean, a lot of different people have been Ronin. Echo has been Ronin before. You know, I mean, so there's been a lot of Ronins, but yeah, I'll hold on it.
Yeah, you can see this happening, but you're not sure.
There's a possibility. I wouldn't want to just go ahead and kill it because you never know. Again, if I had actually done the research and everything, and I knew for sure, then maybe I would have a different take on it.
Well, now I'm going to somebody who has read every Marvel comic in existence and knows
That's
everything,
right.
Mr. Lord Deathman. Jacques Duquesne was actually the Ronin that killed Echo's father.
Indeed. You know what? I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy this at a discount. Because Clint is really on everybody's shit list. I mean, he's responsible for the Black Widow's death, and now he's going to be responsible for somebody's dad's death. They're really piling it on for Clint in this series. So giving him an out that it might have been Duquesne that actually had the suit and committed that one. Yeah, I'm going to buy that.
Yeah. The reason for this theory is also that Jacques Duquesne was very interested in the sword at the auction. He wanted to buy it. It could have been for a reason, maybe hide the evidence. Arch, what do you think? Buy, sell, or hold on the theory that Jacques Duquesne, swordsman, was actually Ronin before Hawkeye and killed Echo's father?
I'm gonna have to sell that for now. I really think they're just establishing that Hawkeye was Ronin, and that's why he's so protective of the suit, and that he in fact is the one that we're seeing that killed her father. I don't see any reason to believe otherwise at this point. They could pull a swerve, I guess, but I don't really see that happening. I think the big thing is that he would be behind the whatever it is that Ronin that Hawkeye, that Clint and Kate are going after. But I think Hawkeye that we know Clint is the one that killed her father. I don't see any reason to believe otherwise at this point.
Okay. Going to Taylor. He can shed some light on this, what he thinks.
Yeah,
Jacques Duquesne as Ronin.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not sure. It seems out of character for Hawkeye to have assumed someone else's identity to become Ronin. You'd think he'd have his own costume and his own thing
In the comics,
when he's out butchering.
Jacques Duquesne was the mentor of Hawkeye.
Yeah, well, there's literally everything is in the comics over the last 50 years. So they're not going to do everything. But I don't know. So I'll tell you, I'll hold because it's possible.
Okay. Well, you heard it here, fans. The panel is not completely convinced, but they're not going to rule it out either. Well, of course, we have a big movie coming up, Spider-Man No Way Home. And one of the theories is connecting Hawkeye to Spider-Man No Way Home, because the Kingpin, who is supposed to show up in Hawkeye, is actually the person who bought Avengers Tower in Spider-Man Homecoming, and this will directly tie Hawkeye to Spider-Man No Way Home. I know it's a bit weak sauce theory, but there were not very good ones out there this week. So, Arch, what do you think?
The Avengers Tower thing somehow shows up in Hawkeye. No, I'm not really seeing that. I think the main bad guy is gonna be is gonna be the stepdad, right? Like that's the main bad guy, right? Like there could be some other swerve coming, but I don't see anything else happening really. I mean, I think that's the simplest explanation. So no, I'm not buying that. I will sell that, in fact, at this point.
Okay, so no direct tie-in between Hawkeye and Spider-Man No Way Home.
Not that I see right now, no.
Okay, Jeff?
Can you give me the skinny on that one again, Grandmaster?
Well, the fans want to connect the Hawkeye show to No Way Home, and they think Kingpin, who's supposed to show up in Hawkeye, will also show up in No Way Home because he bought Avengers Tower, and we will find out in No Way Home.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna sell on that because I feel like there's already so friggin' much going on in Spider-Man 3, and like, I mean, you have to imagine there's stuff that's gonna happen in the movie that's not in the trailers, at least like some stuff. So at that point, there's already so many different characters and villains and whatever going on in Spider-Man 3. I just don't see where the hell they would even be able to fit Kingpin into that story at all.
Okay. Taylor?
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I will sell. Who cares who the heck bought Avengers Tower in Manhattan?
MCU fans do.
Any other stories? I mean, you can force it to be a connection to something or other, but it's already been a big part of one movie. I don't think we're going to see Kingpin in Spider-Man No Way Home. We're going to see a whole bunch of other stuff in Spider-Man No Way Home. There may be a connection between Hawkeye and Spider-Man No Way Home. I've heard rumors that Tobey Maguire is going to be in Hawkeye, but keep that on the down low, okay? That's all. But I'm selling that one.
Oh, I wish I read that one. Lord Deathman, buy, sell, or hold. Is there a connection between Hawkeye and No Way Home, and is that going to be the Kingpin?
Yeah, this one's a stretch. First off, I have to say that I wasn't too thrilled by the way they handled the Kingpin in this third episode of Hawkeye. I guess I'm tired of the Marvel Studios approach in terms of like treating it like a burlesque, and she's taking off her glove, right? And then you got to wait 45 minutes for her to get nude. Now, just seeing his hand, we could have done a full Kingpin sort of reveal. There was no need to kind of have him pinch the cheek and then go off screen. That was like, you really didn't need him to be in the episode at all if that's all it was going to be. But could the Kingpin afford to buy Avengers Tower is the question, and the answer is no. There's wealth in the MCU, as in Tony Stark wealth, and then there's, Kingpin sort of wealth, which is not quite there. So this is a sell.
I think you lost Arch with your answer at some point, but
yeah. Did I miss something? Like what? What? Like
did you? The guy who pinned the hand that pinches Echo's sour-faced cheek. Was that not
the karate lesson?
Yeah, when Echo was a little girl at the karate tournament, and he said her father tells her uncle's gonna take her home, and then the uncle is there, black suit, touches her face. That was Kingpin.
That's the second time. That's the first time a man will touch her face in this episode.
Wait. We know that's Kingpin, or we?
It was either Kingpin or it was a child pornographer.
Well, the next theory is actually about that person who touched her face, but everybody is convinced Kingpin will show up because Echo is the assumed daughter of Kingpin.
I'm immediately going to watch that part of the episode again the moment we're done talking. In fact, I almost just want to leave now just to go watch that, but I will be watching that very shortly.
It was Matt Boner who touched her face. It was Matt Boner.
Yeah, Matt Boner.
Well,
But it's not
well,
Kingpin.
now we're
It's
talking
a really
about
big guy in a really nice suit. So
since we're
sounds
talking
like
since we're talking about that scene. The first theory is actually about that scene, and some people claim it's actually not the Kingpin who is touching Echo's face. They say it's Chuck Duquesne. He also wears nice suits.
Did he wear a white one?
I saw Lord Deathman.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell on that it was Duquesne, Uncle Duquesne, touching her face there. I think they intended us to think that was the Kingpin, and if it does turn out to be Duquesne, I will be upset because that would have been a boner style misdirect. And they got to stop doing that in these Disney Plus shows. So
you're tired of having boners.
No more boners. We saved those for DC.
Okay. Well, Arch, you look shocked. Buy, sell, or hold. It's Chuck Duquesne.
I gotta watch the scene again, but I guess I'll hold for now because I'm a little unsure. But because I'll need to go watch that again to see exactly what you guys are talking about. But for my money, Duquesne is the one who is being set up as the main villain. So I've got to think because I'm resigned to go a little bit in the Taylor perspective here that from the past that things are probably more simple than we're giving them credit for. And I think that's what they're setting up. I mean, it just looks like it. I'm not sure I see a bigger swerve going on there. Duquesne looks like the bad guy. He's giving her the butterscotch that was clearly picked up from the same scene that, whatever that guy's name was. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head.
Armand.
Yeah, Armand. Yeah, Armand was killed at. I mean, it seems like he's clearly the bad guy. I mean, is there somebody else behind him? Maybe, but I mean, I'm not sure. I can't exactly buy that at this point because it seems like Duquesne is the one they're setting up as the guy. So I don't know. I'm going to stick with Duquesne as the guy. I'll hold that for now because potentially there's something else going on there, but I can't outright sell it. So
okay, Jeff.
Oh, I wanted to mention earlier that Taylor was talking about the Snyder Cut and how great it wasn't, I guess. But I got to tell you, the scenes with Darkseid in that movie and like the ones that they have in the trailers gave me like a 9 out of 10 on the boner scale, straight up. Like they were that good.
Can I just chime in? I love the boner twist. The boner was great, dude. I thought boner was awesome. Everybody who thought that Fox X-Men Quicksilver was showing up, you were wrong for the start. I tried to tell you.
Yeah. Okay. So Jeff, you're not going to buy, sell, or hold on the theory.
I'm gonna sell. I'm definitely gonna sell on that because I'm telling you, this could be a total misdirect or maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but I really kind of feel like the swordsman or not the swordsman, whatever, Armand or whatever his name is, Jack or whatever. I honestly think at the end of the day, by the end of the series, he's actually going to be an ally to Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, and it's going to be Vera Farmiga. She's going to be a villain. She's going to be the bad guy. Not the bad guy, maybe, but a bad guy.
Okay. Well, last but not least, Taylor.
Yeah, there's no way that was Jack, unless he's lost like 150 pounds since that karate tournament. The guy was massive. You could see from the suit and his hand almost engulfed the girl's head. Okay,
I'm massive. I have furtively small hands.
The hand in the scene was huge, and Jack didn't have huge hands. But yeah, no, that's just a silly theory. I'll sell.
Okay, well, fans, you cannot convince the panel here. So we're selling this theory. Is there anything we've missed that we still would like to discuss on this episode 3, Echoes? Nope.
Oh, yeah, Yelena Belova. What the hell? I wonder how that's going to work out. I wonder if we're going to see her in episode 4. I mean, she's got to pop up here soon. We've only got 3 episodes left.
Well, if that 15-second teaser showed a character and Lord Deathman, of course, with his vast knowledge of the comics, pulled out a panel, that character with the yellow eyes is Yelena. So she's coming. No worries. Taylor.
Yeah, I just want to say, I normally agree with what Lord Deathman said about the mystery villain problem that Marvel has, because I'm kind of sick of that too myself. But I think in this show, they're handling this show as a mystery. It's kind of a murder mystery. There's a lot of questions surrounding the death of Armand and who did it, and I think they're handling that aspect fairly well in this one.
Okay. No comeback. Jeff.
Yeah, I just want to say that on an optimistic front, I honestly think that the next 3 episodes of Hawkeye are going to be better than the first 3, and this show is actually going to really deliver in the final episodes. And it definitely does have a patchwork of different motifs going on in terms of what the whole base of the series is supposed to be about. It definitely goes in a lot of different directions. And I feel like that when I think about it, when I make that connection with the Netflix Marvel series with the Hawkeye show, I think of Daredevil. There's something about it with Daredevil that connects with me. And a part of that also has to do with the fact that I've read the Matt Fraction run of the comic book, and like I've talked about before on the podcast of Champions, and that Matt Fraction run, Deathman will definitely agree with me on this. Hawkeye goes hands-on a lot more. Like, he's very physical. He's fighting people all the time, getting his ass beat, getting hurt, getting really injured, and I'm really looking forward to seeing. I'm honestly wondering if they're not going to need a second season of Hawkeye or something, just so Hawkeye can continue training Kate Bishop, because I don't know, where she's at right now, her level, it's below the level she's at in the Fraction run of the comic, as far as what she's capable of doing to bad guys and stuff like that. And with her archery, it's a step below. And I feel like she's not seasoned enough yet at this point, what we've seen of her, to even be on the Young Avengers. So I think that they're going to need a second season just to have Hawkeye come back and continue to, coach her.
Well, Sam Wilson took about 5 minutes to properly throw a shield around. So, and it was also in a Disney Plus show. Arch, I give you the final comment before I close.
Oh yeah, sure. Just a casual thing. One, I think this is one of the most this is one of the series that is most adaptable to a sequel or to further training for Kate Bishop. In between Hawkeye, they can do anything with it. It's pretty low scale. They don't have to do anything that's significant to the entirety of the MCU in order to do a sequel. So I think that's great.
Well, finally, that will conclude our review for episode 3 of Hawkeye, called Echoes. Before we finish, I would like to ask you to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page. Join the forum on Sakaar. That way you will never miss us and we won't have to miss you. Bye.